Robbie Robertson often admitted there was one musician he could never stomach, Paul McCartney. For a man who spent decades working with legends like Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and Neil Young, it was striking that McCartney, the most celebrated Beatle, was the one he confessed to hating more than anyone. To understand why, you have to start with Robertson's beginnings. Robbie Robertson was born Shy Royal Robertson on July 5, 1943, in Toronto, Canada. His childhood was shaped by two distinct heritages. His mother, of Mohawk and Conga ancestry, came from the Six Nations Reserve in Ontario. His father, who died before Robbie was old enough to know him, was a Jewish immigrant with roots in Eastern Europe. This blend of Indigenous storytelling, Jewish tradition, and Canadian life gave Robertson a unique outlook. By the time he picked up a guitar as a boy, he wasn't just learning chords. He was weaving cultures. Self-taught, he developed a sound that was soulful, rhythmic, and full of narrative. As a teenager, he was already playing in local Toronto bands, impressing older musicians with his technical skill and instinct for songwriting. His turning point came when he joined Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks, a raucous rockabilly outfit. Life on the road across North America sharpened his craft. More importantly, he bonded with his future bandmates, Levone Helm, Rick Denko, Richard Emanuel, and G. Hudson. By the mid-1960s, the Hawks had grown restless under Hawkins' leadership. They broke off to forge their own path, eventually rebranding themselves as the band. Their debut, Music from Big Pink in 1968, recorded in a pink house in upstate New York, redefined rock. While the world was drenched in psychedelia, Robertson and his group leaned into rootsy Americana. Folk, country, blues, gospel, songs like The Weight and Chest Fever sounded ancient and new all at once. Critics hailed the record as groundbreaking, and musicians across the industry were stunned by its raw honesty. Robertson emerged as the band's chief songwriter. Though Canadian, his lyrics evoked the American South and its people, farmers, drifters, soldiers, lovers. Songs like The Night. They drove Old Dixie down up on Creek, and It Makes No Difference cemented him as one of rock's most gifted storytellers. His guitar style, understated yet razor-sharp, never competed with the words. It elevated them. The band also stood shoulder to shoulder with Bob Dylan during his infamous 1965-1966 Electric Tour when Dylan traded acoustic folk for plugged-in rock. Audiences booed. Folk purists revolted. But Robertson and his crew never flinched. For them, music was about truth, not comfort. By 1976, years of touring, personal struggles, and drug abuse within the group pushed Robertson to bring the band's road chapter to an end. The result was their farewell concert, The Last Waltz, held on Thanksgiving Day at San Francisco's Winterland Ballroom. Robertson envisioned the event not as a breakup, but as a celebration. With Martin Scorsese directing, the band invited friends and icons Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Eric Clapton, Van Morrison, and many others. The resulting film remains one of the most acclaimed concert documentaries ever made. The Last Waltz immortalized the band as both myth and memory, and Robertson as a visionary who saw music as communal history. After the band, Robertson's creative path shifted. His 1987 self-titled solo album blended rock with cinematic production, and included contributions from Peter Gabriel and members of YouTube. Later, works like Contact from the underworld of Red Boy. 1998 embraced his indigenous heritage, fusing chants and traditional voices with modern textures. Robertson also forged a decades-long collaboration with Martin Scorsese. Beginning with Raging Bull, Robertson contributed to or scored films including The King of Comedy, Casino, Gangs of New York, The Wolf of Wall Street, and The Irishman. His ability to match music with cinematic storytelling made him a legend beyond rock. In 2016, he published his memoir, Testimony, reflecting on his upbringing, his music, his turbulent years with the band, and his lifelong pursuit of storytelling. Readers found a mix of humor, warmth, and honesty. Robertson's personal life often grounded him in the midst of chaos. On March 24, 1968, he married Dominique Bourgeois, a Canadian journalist raised in an intellectual family of artists and critics. Their union brought stability as the band's fame exploded. They raised 3 children together, including a son, Sebastian, who followed his father's creative path. The marriage wasn't without struggle. Dominique even filed for divorce in 1977, but the separation didn't last. They reconciled, staying legally married until 2003. Despite ups and downs, Robertson often said his children gave him perspective that fame alone never could. Later, Robertson found love again. On March 12, 2023, only months before his death, he married Janet Zuccarini, a Canadian entrepreneur and television personality known for her work in the restaurant industry and as a judge on Top Chef Canada. Their late-life marriage reflected Robertson's enduring hope for connection and love, even as his health declined. For all of Robertson's collaborations, one name stuck out as a sore spot: Paul McCartney. He admired the Beatles, but something about McCartney rubbed him raw. Robertson once said, "Paul always struck me as someone who had to be the center of attention no matter what." To him, McCartney's polished, melodic pop sensibility felt manufactured, too neat, too controlled. By contrast, Robertson revered Bob Dylan's grit. "Dylan risked everything," he said. Paul wanted it all tidy and clean. At industry gatherings in the 1970s and 1980s, Robertson recalled feeling dismissed by McCartney, who he thought dominated conversations, turning every exchange into a story about himself or the Beatles. He spoke warmly of George Harrison's spirituality, admired John Lennon's brutal honesty, and found Ringo Starr down to earth. But McCartney, he confessed, was the only one he truly couldn't stomach. Even late in life, Robertson's feelings hadn't softened much. He acknowledged McCartney's genius and success, but insisted that respect was not the same as affection. When asked which famous musician he disliked most, Robertson answered without hesitation, "Paul, always Paul." On August 9, 2023, Robbie Robertson passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 80. He had been battling prostate cancer for a year. Even as his health faded, he continued sketching musical ideas, always speaking about the importance of storytelling through song. Robertson left behind more than music. He left a legacy of grit, invention, and honesty. From a boy with patched shoes on the Six Nations Reserve, to a guitarist who rewrote rock, to a composer whose work shaped some of cinema's greatest films, his life was a testament to resilience and artistry, and through it all, collaborations, friendships, and rivalries. The one thing Robertson never lost was his voice, a voice that told stories of loss, survival, and the messy truth of being human.